Since 1987, Nigeria, through the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, has contributed immensely to bringing the skill gap in many African, Pacific, and Caribbean countries. This week, we will beam our searchlight on the impact of this volunteer scheme on benefiting countries. The humanitarian space in Africa is gearing up for a summit in Zanzibar, Tanzania, and this will be engaging our attention on this week's episode of Africa Weekly. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to the program. Nigeria's government has launched a new program towards actualization of its plan to create 50 million jobs for Nigerians. The National Talent Export Program, (Dtac), was launched at the Microsoft corporate office in New York on the margins of the 78th United Nations General Assembly.
Dtac is coming as the game changer.
The four-pronged objectives of the Dtac initiative are as follows. 1. To deliver 1 million service export jobs over the next 5 years. 2. To increase foreign exchange earnings and revenue for Nigeria. 3. To create economic growth and to stimulate the growth of ancillary industries and support services. And 4. To improve skills and strengthen the Nigerian brand.
The growing youthful unemployed population and about 1.7 million Nigerians being produced annually by higher learning institutions and now to be converted to the product the world is looking for. Like an idea of whose time has come, the program is already gaining momentum with support from top tech companies.
I hope that we will be able to provide support to Dtac through the continuous reskilling and upskilling of the workforce that will be a part of this initiative.
Nigeria has a great amount of content to deliver to the world. Nigeria should be providing apps for Africa and the world.
Dtac aimed at positioning Nigeria as a leading global hub for service exports and talent sourcing in Africa is also projected to take 1 million Nigerians off the labor markets annually and for the next 5 years.
After 35 years of its existence, the Nigerian Volunteer Scheme has been adjudged successful in meeting the set objectives. The Director General of the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, Dr. Yusuf Buba Yakub, was speaking in Abuja at the deployment of a new set of expert volunteers to Liberia who will serve in that country for the next 2 years in different fields. The challenge was that they have to give to life the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, who has demonstrated his firm commitment to keeping Nigeria's big brother role in the African continent intact. More on this issue is the Director General of Technical Aid Corps, Dr. Yusuf Buba Yakubu. Doctor, I want to say thank you very much for finding time to talk to us on the program.
Thank you.
Okay, now, when you assumed duty at the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, what would you say you met on ground?
Well, the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps has been in existence since 1987. And it was formed purposefully to serve as an instrument of soft power diplomacy. We deploy humanitarian service in terms of manpower to African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. So this program has been on for the past 35 years or thereabout. And when I resumed as Director General on the 25th of August, we hit the ground running, and we continue from where my predecessor stops. And in 2 weeks, we were able to deploy volunteers to Liberia to serve in different fields of endeavors. So far, we are busy trying to see how we can improve on the activities of the directorate.
Okay. Okay, so now after 35 years of existence, would you say the purpose for which the Corps was established is being realized?
Definitely, the purpose for which the Corps was being established has been realized in so many ways.
Okay, please tell us about that.
For example, one of the major aspirations of the country is to make sure that you establish cordial relationship with your neighbors. And that is one of the objectives of the Corps. Nigeria have developed a lot of cordial relationship with the different countries, not only of Africa and the Caribbean, but different countries of the world. When you have friends, it makes it easier for your citizens to go out there and do their businesses and execute whatever they want to do legally in those countries without any fear. And secondly, when you look at some of the regional and international bodies where Nigerians vie to take up the leadership, you will find out that because of this relationship, whenever we go out to contest for such positions, we get overwhelming support from these countries that we have developed mutual relationship with over the past 35 years.
So now, you recently deployed some Nigerian expats, volunteers to Liberia. Tell us, what are those things you are expecting from them?
Well, we expect that the volunteers will represent Nigeria very well and serve as ambassadors of their country positively. And we have briefed them, we have trained them to make sure they represent us well and they live up to expectation and not to put the name of their country to disrepute. And before we deploy volunteers, we do a lot of due diligence to make sure we are deploying the best, and definitely we have never gotten experiences where any of the volunteers disappoint this country in the history of the Corps.
Okay, so you are expecting so much from them, but at this point, I'd like to ask, in all of these, how does this, fit into the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President?
Yeah, that was why when Mr. President was out there in the UN trying to see how he can repackage the image of Africa and get acceptance and acceptability by the whole world, more especially in the economic point of view, where Mr. President was calling on investors to come in freely into Africa and into Nigeria to invest, most especially based on the recent policies that he has deployed. The Corps, on its part, was also fulfilling some of those commitments by Mr. President by sending out volunteers almost at the same time to Liberia. This shows that we are matching our Mr. President words with action because as a big brother in Africa, as I want to say a superpower in Africa, Nigeria is always up and doing in terms of defending the interests of Africa, just like Mr. President was doing when he addressed the United Nations.
Okay, so now, Doctor, finally, before I let you, out of the studio, what area of operation at Dtac do you think requires reform, and what is your vision for this organization?
Well, we have a lot of reforms that we will want to bring into Dtac, more especially in the area of the specialty of volunteers that we sent out. Going forward, we will want to concentrate more on sending out skilled volunteers, more especially in deploying some of our cultural advantages out there to these countries. Well, it is part of our mandate to see that we deploy mutually, through mutual understanding. We share our cultures with this country, because when you share your cultures with your neighbors, then it will solve a lot of problems. You will live in peace because you will be able to understand each other's cultures and the way of life. So going forward, we will deploy experts in this area so that even after serving their two-year mandate, they can still impact in the lives of those countries in terms of their talents.
Right, Director General, Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, Dr. Yusuf Boba-Yakubu. I want to say thank you very much for the insights.
Thank you so much.
The quest by the current administration towards poverty eradication has been given a boost as President Bola Tinubu has approved the Presidential Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Beta Edu, disclosed these at a high-level side event of the 78th United Nations General Assembly in New York.
These ones, somewhere in Nigeria, are part of the more than 16 million people caught in the web of humanitarian crisis. They have in turn joined the list of Nigerians below the poverty line. More than half the population of the country are in this category.
And they become...
This is part of the humanitarian challenges Nigeria has taken onto the world stage as it calls for help.
We have a serious situation on our hands in Nigeria.
Nigeria's government had initiated many social intervention programs to tackle poverty. The Presidential Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund is the latest measure aimed at expanding the social safety nets.
30% of the fundings expected in this trust fund will be coming from the government of Nigeria, and it's expected that the rest of this funding comes from other nations, the United Nations, donor agencies, philanthropic individuals, private sector, who we want to bring fully into the space, amongst other forms of innovative fund raising. The essence is for us to be able to adequately address the issues which we face on ground as a matter of urgency.
Still on humanitarian advocacy, the role of foundation is becoming visible and impactful. Our next conversation is with Gloria Chibuike, a risk analyst and humanitarian advocate. She is also the founder of Chibuike Foundation. I want to say thank you very much for finding time to talk to us on Africa Weekly.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, now humanitarian work or interventions and activities generally of many foundations are closely intertwined. Tell us, what has been the impact of your foundation in this regard?
Thank you very much. The Chiwa Chibike Foundation is an organization that is solely, set up to target healthcare situations in Africa. I mean, in as much as we are an organization that functions in Nigeria and America, but being that when it comes to the healthcare system in Africa, it's totally, different, especially in our country, Nigeria. We have decided to contribute, in our own little way, and also to be a part of the change that we all want to see, and in Nigeria, to become a better place. We've decided to contribute.
Okay, you have also worked in the area of youth counseling and education. Tell us about this.
The aim as a youth counselor is to be able to, as a youth too, because, I'm also a Nigerian youth, being able to put myself out there and being able to use my life struggles and my experiences and being able to, to say, oh, I can relate to your struggles. My problems might not be exactly like yours, but seeing that I'm a young person who has decided to put myself out there is not because I have attained so much, but because I want to be a part of the change, in the country. It's the idea is to be able to reach out to as many people as possible, and truthfully, I would say it's been a positive effort so far over the years, because in as much as we have people who we feel like would not want to be a part of, the humanitarian aspect of the country because, oh, it's too hard, or we're not financially capable to be a part of it. It doesn't really require all of that, and putting yourself out there and going to seminars and just communicating with these people and connecting with them and helping them understand that there are ways to go about these things, because some people are not informed. So the goal for me is to be able to bring this information to them for free, and putting myself out there also means that if you see me as a youth, and if I can do it, you can do it too.
All right. So now, in all of your interactions with them, your counseling and education, what have you discovered is their most pressing needs?
I would say most people are misinformed. Most Nigerian youths are misinformed. Some of them do not have, some of them feel that they don't have the proper channels, to go about certain things like, career choices, career paths. Some people go to school and when they graduate, they're like, oh, there's no avenue for us to do further. So I think the best thing is to be able to, broadcast these things and put out like proper informations for these people to follow through, because misinformation is something that can cause a whole lot of havoc. If people don't get the right information, it just spreads. They get the wrong knowledge of things. So I think misinformation is a big problem, and not having the right channels for them to, the right and appropriate channels, and easy to, because some people, it's when they think about the stress they have to go through, to be able to achieve something, especially when it comes to contributing to the society, they just give up halfway. So I think setting up proper channels for, to put out information for this young youths, and also being able to make it easier for them because they're young. They should be able to assess these things without having to go through too much stress or spending too much.
All right, so thank you very much. Now, finally, in terms of collaboration, how much of these have you done with other organizations and government in ensuring that the objectives and goals of your foundations are realized?
So far, we've done a lot. By the grace of God, we've been able to partner with, for example, the office of the wife of the governor, the former governor of Abia State. We've been able to partner with a couple of ministries, you know, to execute some projects. And we've also been able to partner with some organizations, both private organizations and, you know, government organizations, both in Nigeria and in America.
All right, so thank you very much for finding time to talk to us, Gloria Chibike. I want to say thank you very much for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you very much for
having me. I wish you all the best in your humanitarian work.
Thank you.
Heads of national drug law enforcement agencies in Africa have been advised to renew their mandate in the fight against substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking in their respective countries to get rid of the shackles of the criminal enterprise of drug barons and syndicates. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Tinubu, made the appeal while declaring open the 31st meeting of the heads of national drug law enforcement agencies, Africa, in Abuja.
We must prioritize prevention, education, and rehabilitation to empower our youth with knowledge and opportunities. We must steer them away from the treacherous path of drug abuse and trafficking and protect our economy from the consequences of their actions.
It is a 4-day engagement at the 31st meeting of the heads of national drug law enforcement agencies in Africa, aimed to broker collaborations in the areas of shared intelligence, joint training and operations. The meeting, with participants from 54 countries and 15 observer nations, is expected to discuss new trends and partnerships to curb the global drug scourge. The conference will also enable heads of drug law enforcement agencies in Africa to develop strategies that will combat drug trafficking and abuse in African continent.
We are hosting the 31st HONLAB meeting here to reassure you of our promise to participate in building a wall not threatened by the infiltration of illicit drugs. Over the decades, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, criminal organizations have attempted to breach our security measures in their business of polluting nations and minds. But while it's a compliment that drug law enforcement organizations are a threat to their criminal empires, their desperation must never be taken for granted.
The meeting is also focusing on regional and national cooperation to reduce illicit production and cultivation of illicit drugs.
There are strong institutions and agencies around the world and outside our continent whose partnerships can add sinew and significance to our efforts. This week, Nigeria will provide a platform for experts from all over the continent to address the world drug problem.
With more than 14% of Nigerians between the age of 15 and 64 having used drugs in the preceding 12 months, drug use levels were almost 3 times higher than the global average.
A document was unveiled titled "Organized Crime in Nigeria, a Threat Assessment" as part of measures to ensure a drug-free society.
And that's our package this week. Thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha. Thanks for watching.